We have a term called 小吃, little small food or small dishes, which means that it's not very serious stuff and always consists of very simple stuff like a bowl of noodle, a piece of tofu, or some of the vegetable kind of boiled in water. As we call it, the idea of the 小吃, which is supposed to be very cheap. But nowadays, the 小吃is not cheap any longer. Pardon? Pardon?
No, just inflation. Like nothing is cheap anymore.
Well, nothing is cheap in Taiwan, but for the wage. So we have a lot of stuff actually won't make you stuffed. Like the bamboos. It's not bamboo shoots, it's the bamboo itself. They use the fresh young bamboos and marinated it, or sometimes just made it fermented, and it can be softened. And this kind of thing was actually, we call it 鸡卷, chicken rolls. Some the skin of these soybean milk, made of beans, use of the to wrap up some stuff. Some, for example, pastry, some vegetable, and with one piece or two lumps of the meat, and deep fry it. And you cut it into small slices when you eat it. These kind of little dishes, very popular, and some of them is combined with a religious reason. Like one of the things we call 面线. Have you tried 面线? Do you know what 面线is? Stringy, very very thin, made of rice, made of flour with a lot of salt in it. Therefore, it will never go off. And it is so thin that actually just needs 1 or 2 minutes, then the noodle will be boiled. And always eaten with some special occasions. As I mentioned, with the sesame chicken, with the mayoji, you have the 面线 mayo, so sesame chicken with 面线. And there's a tradition that when the Chinese or the Taiwanese celebrate birthdays, we have the 猪脚面线, pig's foot, or pig's feet, with 面线, considered one of the best, most delicious stuff. Then you can imagine when, say, back to 100 years ago, 200 years ago, when the material was so rare and people weren't so rich. So occasionally you have a pig's foot. You consider it's very delicious and nutritious. And only during some special occasions you'll be able to afford it. And nowadays, this habit or this tradition is actually kept. So a lot of people in prison, after being in the prison, served the times in jail, when they were released, before they enter the house, the mother or the parents will actually prepare a bowl of this 猪脚面线 for them to get rid of this kind of bad luck or hard luck, and some religious meaning is actually affiliated to this food. And in many cases in Taiwan, food is not only food. Like say during the wedding time, during the wedding or this kind of banquet, you will have to have very small balls made of the rice cake, 汤圆. It is a must. It symbolizes the good fortune in the wedding and so on, or a lot of offsprings, a lot of children, which is not welcome nowadays any longer. So you have the 面线, 大肠面线, or this kind of 面线 vendors everywhere. Okay, 1895, when Japanese arrived to Taiwan, again, they brought their own kitchen to Taiwan. And especially when more and more Japanese arrived in Taiwan. At the beginning, there was actually only the military and the government employees in Taiwan. Later on, some farmers also emigrated upon the invitation of the Taiwanese Governor General. A lot of Japanese farmers arrived to Taiwan. They moved to Hualien, to Taitung, to southern part of Taiwan, starting a new life there as a farmer as well. So they introduced, or they brought with them, the Japanese way of living, including the Japanese kitchen. And since then on, Taiwanese culinary habit, or the culinary culture, is actually enriched by another new element, the Japanese one. So, especially towards the end of the Japanese colonial rule, there's a so-called Japanization of the local people. The Chinese was supposed to adopt Japanese family name, adopt Japanese way of living, which we will discuss some other time again. Then, the Japanese food is actually, yes?
Do you know much about the demographics? I was kind of curious, because like for instance now, maybe it's a very small amount would be Aboriginal, like 2 or 3%. Like how many Japanese actually came here? Was it like 40% Chinese, 40% Japanese, and like 20% Aboriginal? And then after the Japanese left, and this was like, did most of the Japanese go home, or did they stay? I was kind of curious, like the number on the influence on people.
The accurate number of the Aborigines are very hard to find out, because first of all they lived in the area where statistics were very hard to get. And especially during the Japanese colonial time, the loss of their lives, the population decreased sharply because as I mentioned, when they get mingled with the Japanese, or with the Taiwanese, then the contagious disease reached them and smashed a lot of population away. Whenever there is some kind of communication, then a disease will actually will burst and they will lose their lives. So therefore, nowadays the Aborigines being made say at most 5% of Taiwanese. And again, it's very hard to know because the intermarriage was so common. So it's very important to kind of differentiate. So if you go to the areas like in Taitung, in Hualien, in Pingtung, where the Aborigines kind of still live together in the village, then you will be able to say, okay, he's Aborigines or whatsoever. But like in Hualien city itself, you have a lot of Aborigines. They married to the local people, not married to Han Chinese, married to the Chinese from mainland China after 1949. And we will talk about this phenomenon later, some other time. I will show you a film called 老莫第五春天. You know, these so-called old soldiers from mainland China. 1970s, they were actually discharged from the military camp, and they were in their 50s. They have no way out but to, if they want to have a normal life, they have to buy rice in the villages, the original villages. And so this kind of intermarriage was very popular, very common. And their offspring will be considered as Chinese, Han Chinese. Only, say, 10, 20 years ago, the legislation changed. Those people who have half, say, Aboriginal blood can claim themselves with Aborigines. And this was not without reason, because being Aboriginals, you will enjoy special treatment when you are doing the examinations for the universities, also for the government employment. You have to pass exam. And if you are Aborigines, you enjoy some up to 25%. Right. And therefore, people like to say, I'm Aborigines. Right. Only 2 days ago, there's a statistic in the newspaper that the average life expectancies of the Aborigines in Taiwan, in Hualien, you see that they were actually 7.7 years younger. They died young. And it's, well, this is a question that I ask myself all the time. I'm trying to find out, and it's almost impossible to know the exact percentage. But we know that the percentage is very low. Actually, Taiwan has made them, say, throughout the time, over 90%. So it's actually the dominant. And even nowadays, it's impossible to know that you are Hakka or you are Minnan Chinese, because the Hakka, they call themselves invisible men. They don't want, because the Minnan people have some kind of dislike towards the Hakka, and Hakka sometimes will actually hide themselves from being realized as Hakka. So it's even impossible or very hard to differentiate Minnan and Hakka. Not to mention the Aborigines. And there's some kind of statistics that the Chinese from mainland China after 1949 will somehow be 20%. And I think this 20% is actually highly estimated, because their offsprings, when say father from mainland China, mother local, they consider themselves being so-called 外省人, so-called mainland Chinese from mainland China. So this percentage is not very exact as well. Actually, I think in every single society, it's impossible to find it out. Just, well, you have to identify yourself. And how you identify yourself, we don't know. But as for the Japanese population in Taiwan, at the very beginning, it makes, say, 1 or 2% of the total Taiwanese population. The number is minimal, just to strong enough to run the government. And 1930s, the Japanese government started, or the colonial government started to introduce this program, the project to move or to invite Japanese immigrants to Taiwan, because then the overpopulation problem was actually very serious in Japan. Japanese started to encourage people to move out. Taiwan was actually one of the ideal places, and the government, the colonial government, prepared huge land, a lot of farmland for the Japanese, and they came to Taiwan, village by village, just kind of live together also in this Japanese styled village or farmhouses. Still in Hualien or in Taitung, that was actually the first choice. You can still notice that this remain of this Japanese colonization or the Japanese settlements there, and even the name of the place still using the Japanese way, like Fongbin is Toyo, and in Changhua area, in Jiayi area, you have also this kind of so-called experimental farm run by Japanese. And then, 1930s, 1940s, the Japanese population was slightly higher, but the program was not very successful. The Japanese came to Taiwan, found out it can be too hard for them, because the people who would like to move to Taiwan were actually from the Hokkaido, from the colder area. They found it's very the weather unfriendly for them, so they stopped this idea. And then soon the Taiwanese, Japan entered into war with China, so this kind of project stopped. But after 50 or 40 years of schooling, of colonization, the Taiwanese, towards the end of the Japanese colonial period, adopted altogether the Japanese way of life, right? Especially those elite, those learned or educated class. They enjoy speaking Japanese because being able to speak Japanese is actually being able to enjoy a special social respect. They were allowed to enter the schools. They were invited to companies in Japan. Some of them stayed in Japan. And this, actually the Japanized Chinese or Taiwanese, well, quite a few. And some of them are still living there. And they still noticed that they were actually from China, from Taiwan. But altogether, there's no way to find out the exact number. Any other questions? No? Okay. So then we talk about the situation of Japanese culinary history in Taiwan, or culinary influence in Taiwan. First of all, the raw fish, and then the deep-fried stuff, and then the Japanese way of seasoning. One of the typical example would be the miso shiru, the miso soup. Right? The miso is a type of fermented soya beans paste, and boiled in water with some soya bean curd with tofu. Can be very typical Japanese drink or soup. Then the miso shiru was actually very popular in Taiwan. And again, you have these sushi bars in Taiwan. You have these sushi bars everywhere now. The zhengxian, this little round, rolling around truck with these small dishes, small plates, the sushi bars. And you have the eel, unagi don, the rice with eel, grilled eel. Right. Now here. That's the sashimi. The way of the raw fish slice displayed is very Japanese style, but the preparation is somehow different to those in Japan because the price of the fish is much cheaper in Taiwan. So therefore the slices are bigger than those in Japan. So it's not a slice, it's a chunk. That's the Taiwanese sashimi. And the wasabi, these, how do you call it wasabi in English?
It's wasabi.
Just wasabi, you had to have a term for it.
No.
Not horseradish, no, just wasabi. Okay, the wasabi, the way to eat wasabi is also different. How do you use wasabi in a typical standard Japanese restaurant?
Mix it with soy sauce.
Soy sauce, and
You don't mix it with soy sauce.
you don't mix, that's right. No, you don't mix it. And sometimes you don't take it. You don't. The best way is not to take any sauce, because it should be prepared as just for you ready to eat. But in Taiwan, you have the wasabi, you have the soy sauce, you mix it, they have everything in it. And Japanese will actually be astonished or somehow surprised. What are you doing with our sushi? So what are you doing with our sashimi? Because actually you killed, spoiled the flavor of the original food. Just like Perry mentioned, that everything's dipped with ketchup. Right. It was actually very popular that everything is dipped in ketchup. Right. So that's a different idea. So that's the Japanese sashimi. Okay. That's the nigiri. Was also very popular in Taiwan. And that's the nigiri. Right. It became more and more popular, so everybody actually enjoyed. For example, I don't take fish. I don't like fish at all. But I will actually take some sushi. And the reason I take it is just because of the unsaturated fat. It's supposed to be good for your health, for your blood, for your circulation. Therefore, I take sushi or nigiri as medicine, not as food. Then this way I enjoy it much better. So this is the tempura. Tempura is, I think this word is derived from Spanish, meaning to deep fry. And when Spanish merchants arrived to Japan, they also brought with them the way of food preparation, and Japanese adopted this idea. So then they started to deep fry almost everything, vegetable, like leaves, and shrimps, fish, almost everything can be deep fried. They also use turn the fish into a type of, with flour, turn it into pastry, and deep fry it. And they call it still tempura. Tempura meaning deep fried stuff. And it was actually introduced to Taiwan, and Taiwan is called a lot of things tempura, without knowing the meaning of tempura, right? And therefore, for Taiwanese, only those fish with pastry, with flour, deep fried, it's called tempura. Otherwise, this kind of vegetable and shrimps, this is not tempura for the Taiwanese. So the terminology, also the meaning, slightly changed from those of the Japan. And this is actually hanasushi, also very popular in Taiwan, and especially nowadays, these so-called convenience stores, 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and so on, they started to introduce this kind of fast food. Actually, this is not much a too bad idea because it's not so greasy. It's not so fattening, and this idea of sushi is more and more popular in Taiwan with the spread of the convenience store. And these are some kind of special sweet stuff in Taiwan. This one is called Long Xu Tang, dragon whiskers candy, or dragon whiskers sweet stuff. Sugar is boiled, stretched, like the ramen. Right? You know the ramen, you can easily turn a piece of dough into 1,028 noodles, and so you can a learned man, a master, can turn the sugar into, say, this kind of whiskers called long shui tang. It is actually originated in China, mainland China, just like the ramen, but it's kind of popular nowadays in Taiwan. Have you tried this long shui tang before? No? Try it. Just sweet, nothing special, but just by watching it, it's very entertaining.
But the inside is like peanut, no, right?
Sometimes they use peanut powder in it.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the only one I know.
You don't like it?
I don't know any other ones, so I only know the peanut one, and I don't eat peanut, so.
Okay, so we are comrades. I love peanut as well. So there's actually with peanut filling in it, right? And this is the hot pot, fogo. Have you tried fogo? You have to try it because nowadays in Taiwan, the hot pot has at least 1 million different types. You have the Japanese shabu shabu, right? Using a small pot. Each one has a pot for themselves. And you have the Cantonese style, right? You have the Peking style, with it is made of bronze, and then with charcoal fire in the middle. And you have the Dongbei style, with the sour cabbage. The sour cabbage is very similar to this German sauerkraut, right? The cabbage is actually very similar. It's very directly related to those in Manchuria. And you have the Sichuan style, 麻辣锅. It's very spicy, and ma means numb. You can numb your mouth because of the Sichuan pepper. It's not hot. It's numbing. And certainly you have different ingredients, like corn. It was not Chinese at all. You have the shrimps. You have the mushroom. You have the different type of leaves. And most of important, you have to have meat. Most popular meat will be pork or beef, sliced in very thin slice, and it's enjoyed in winter as well as in summer. And therefore, in all these kind of shops, you have the air conditioning. The people can have sweating, and nevertheless they eat this kind of food, which was not common at all in Taiwan. Originally, or in most of the cultures in the world, food is served according to the season, right? In winter you should eat what, and in summer you should eat this. And up to 50 years ago, there was actually this rule, according to nature, was strictly watched out carefully. But nowadays, people can do anything they want in any time. And therefore you have this shabu-shabu in summer, with air conditioning, and you have the ice cream in winter. When you're kind of shivering, you still have to enjoy the ice cream. Which is not right, but reflects our modern time, the modern civilization. So, the hot pot is very popular in different way, with different ingredients, and basically just kind of cook in front of you, and you do the cook. So therefore, no one can be blamed if the hot pot is not tasty enough. Their own problem. I provide you with all the seasoning stuff, with all the ingredients. You should be responsible. And the worst of all is that in many cases, it's all you can eat. That is really a waste. A new statistic shows that the food wasted in Taiwan every year can keep 80,000 students or pupils going. So there's really a waste of food here. The tendency is really very serious and worrying. So this is the hot pot. And some of the important food, again, we have these kind of things imported from China, or introduced from China under the Chinese influence. This one, shizitou, lion's head. I don't know how come it's called lion's head. So have you tried this shizitou? Meatballs.
Isn't that made in China?
Huh?
I didn't think it was Taiwanese.
It's not Taiwanese.
Oh.
No, but it's actually introduced to Taiwan, especially from the Shanghai style. The meatballs was actually originated from Zhenjiang in Jiangsu province. They cook, say, minced meat with water chestnuts, with different ingredients, and then deep fried or sometimes steamed, and then cooked with china leaves. It's very popular and very good for the food. And don't forget, it's very cheap. To buy a piece of steak costs how much and how much. And to buy some minced meat, actually, don't forget. If people would advise you, don't take any minced meat in any foreign countries. If you don't know, because minced meat can be made of these kind of, the worst part, the leftover part, and not unfresh part of the meat. Everything can be kind of minced. Right? So be careful with minced meat. just like a hamburger. Right? How do you cook a hamburger? Do you know that? Huh? Do you have hamburger in Hamburg?
Yes, they do.
No. Do you have hamburger in Hamburg?
Of course.
Yeah, from McDonald's.
Yeah. American one.
Yeah. From American McDonald's. Otherwise, you don't have the hamburger. It's fried minced meats. It's very popular. You have this in every culture almost. Right. In German, it's called Hackapeta. Right? That's the
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Not everywhere.
Okay. How do you call it?
Frikadelle.
Oh, frikadelle. Yeah. Okay. You have different names for these, but to call it hamburger is somehow different. So you don't have hamburger in Hamburg. But in Germany, there's a chain store called Nordsee. Have you tried Nordsee? You have the Bremer. It's a fish burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bremer. Okay, it's only food. So after 1949, the Taiwanese kitchen is actually influenced by the Chinese immigrants, and every single one bring their own food with them and started to mix in Taiwan, and therefore so-called Taiwanese kitchen. What you see now is the mess, the chaos after mixture. You don't have the original Taiwanese food unless you watch out carefully and you know where to find them. Those I just introduced, I just explained, was actually the original Taiwanese. Otherwise, on the streets, you have the mapo tofu. You know the mapo tofu, the spicy tofu. It was actually originated from Sichuan province. You get it in the Shanghai restaurants. You get it in these those little buffet shop in front of the university. Everyone knows how to cook mapo tofu. Another example would be the 水饺, right? 水饺, 饺子, the dumpling, Chinese dumpling. Or 锅贴. The term itself, 水饺, is already kind of complicated because some area are called mantou, yeah. Like the Koreans still call 水饺, manju. And in Japan, they call it gyoza. We call it 锅贴, the deep fried ones, or fried ones. They call it gyoza as 水饺. And in Japan, they even eat gyoza, eat dumpling with rice. Use the gyoza as a dish. And in many countries, in many places, they have only certain type of 水饺. And another example of this kind of mixture you can see is, have you been to 八方云集? Those are 水饺 places, 水饺 shops. What do you eat 水饺with? Hmm?
No, they have one, like when you come down the bridge towards campus.
Yes, they're right beside the little temple there. You have one of these 八方云集. What do you eat 水饺 with? The sour shops, the sour heart soup. What? 豆浆. Yeah, use 酸辣汤 with 水饺. Right? That's another funny thing. 水饺 is originated in northern part of China, and 酸辣汤is actually from Sichuan province. In their hometown, they never meet each other, and they got married in Taiwan. So everybody knows that with 水饺you have to have a bowl of 酸辣汤, right? The typical combination, which was not common in their own place. So that's the Taiwanese way of preparation. And another thing, have you tried noodles with beef? This is also a Taiwanese invention. The noodle beef, or beef noodles with beef, or beef noodle, one of the most important ingredients is actually the 豆瓣酱. The doubanjiang is pastry, the hot bean pastry, and the bean was actually this way to prepare this kind of hot bean sauce, paste. Sorry, the hot bean paste was actually from Sichuan province, where they don't eat the 牛肉面. When Chinese moved to Taiwan after 1949, there's a very special force, Air Force, a special group of the soldiers. During the Sino-Japanese War, the Air Force was actually based in Sichuan province, and they moved to Taiwan in Kaohsiung area, in Gangshan area. And servicemen were actually, most of them were actually from Sichuan province. They found the sunshine in Kaohsiung area very, very good for them to produce or to make their own hot bean paste. And this kind of bean was actually very popular and common. Therefore, they started to produce this doubanjiang, the bean paste in Gangshan, in Kaohsiung area. And then the Taiwanese, the Taiwanese never ate beef, partly because of the religion, the Buddhist religion, partly because of the attitudes towards the animal, because they helped farming, and therefore we should not eat beef to thank them for their labor. So the Taiwanese, the genuine Taiwanese, should not touch beef. They're not used to this beef. But when in the Air Force, when they started to produce this hot bean paste, and some of them will actually cook the beef, because beef then is supposed to be cheap. Beef and the hot bean sauce were actually cooked together, and then turned into this sauce for noodles. And bit by bit, people enjoyed the taste of the 牛肉面, and spread island-wide, nationwide, and became one of the most important food in Taiwan. So I think there's no one that have not tried. Have you ever tried? Who haven't tried the 牛肉面? Why?
I've heard of it, but never had the chance. I would have thought.
Why you should do it now? ASAP.
Yeah.
And the reason?
I think I don't have tried this, but I have had something similar, which was like a wooden plate, and then in the wooden plate you would have an iron plate, which was hot, and you got noodles, beef, and some red sauce, and an egg on it.
That's 铁板烧. It's different.
It's different.
Yeah, the seasoning is sort of different. This is with the doubanjiang. Try this sometime. 牛肉面.
Yeah, I would like to.
You get 牛肉面 everywhere. Right. There's no problem. You get any noodle shop that deals with noodles will have 牛肉面. It's only the matter of tasty or not.
It's called roe mian.
牛肉面. Yeah, beef noodle, beef meat noodle, 牛肉面. You try 牛肉面. Yeah, what is your opinion? You don't like it. You think it's great, and you don't like it.
我吃素。
Uh-huh.
我吃素。
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Well, that's another story. So, if you're not a vegetarian, try it. It's a must. And nowadays on mainland China, they are boiling enough beef noodle soup. 牛肉面 shop everywhere, especially in the big cities, Beijing or Shanghai. They all call themselves Taiwan 牛肉面. Whereas in Taiwan, you have the Shandong 牛肉面, Sichuan 牛肉面. Very interesting, right? Okay. It's another one. Every shop has their own recipe, secret recipe. And sometimes claim that their great-grandfather invented, which is a lie. It must be a lie, a white lie. That this is a very modern thing after 1949. Okay. So different shops, different ingredients, but one thing common: it's very greasy, very greasy. So, in the 1950s, when Taiwanese economy started to take off, and a lot of restaurants opened. Oh well, you know we always say that Taiwanese economy can be divided into 3 different phases. First phase is the oral phase. Right? They have to put everything into mouth. And the second phase is buying. And then the third phase will be going abroad. But while people travel all around the world, the oral phase is still staying. And therefore, since the 1950s on, there are a lot of restaurants opened up, especially in this downtown area. And the so-called downtown area is for Taipei. What do you think? Where do you think is the downtown Taipei nowadays? Dongqu. Yeah. But it was not downtown. When I was in high school, the Xinyi Road, Rengai Road was still rice parties. Right? Rice parties. So the downtown area was actually. Have you been to Wanhua? Or Longzhansi? Or Ximending? That was actually.
All the homeless and prostitutes.
Well, notice that it actually. That's the original downtown. Or you must have this kind of trade to entertain those travelers. Right? So Ximending was actually a downtown area. So in the 1950s, 1960s, not far away from the railway station, you have a lot of restaurants. And these kind of restaurants, some of them stayed, some of them disappeared with time, some of them kind of remodeled, some of them, the names still exist, but the substance changed. So, for example, this is a very important, interesting Hunan style food called Peng Yuan. Who the owner of the restaurants was actually the family cook for a very important person called Tan Yankai, who I think was actually a very high-ranking civil servant, and his cook. After he passed away, his cook just opened up a restaurant, and this is the Peng Yuan in Hunan style, still exists. And in Taiwan, in a lot of hotels, like the Fuhua and so on, they all have this Cantonese style dim sum. For one reason that attracts the people from abroad, for the tourists, they always heard of the Cantonese dim sum, and therefore for the big hotels, you must have this Canton style food to entertain the people, the tourists. And therefore nowadays, if you want to try the Cantonese style food, you better go to a hotel. And this shows that even nowadays you don't have to cook yourself. Even for the Chinese New Year's festival, everything can be delivered, or you can collect them to a nearby convenience store, like called Taipei, to take away or delivered. And the idea of cooking is totally different. So 40 years ago, all the housewives must cook 3 times a day. Nowadays, you'll be lucky that your mother cooks, say, 3 times a week. And most of the cases, the people just eat out, and it can be very cheap to eat out. Say, especially near the university, you have a lot of these so-called 自助餐, say 80 NT per head, you get quite a few dishes. But, of course, the nutrition is the problem. And nowadays, we have a problem that the schoolboys and girls are overweighted. There's mark of the time that people eat out, people eat fast food, people eat too much. I myself is a victim of the modern civilization. Okay, let's take a break.